Welcome to Viewin' and Reviewin', where I pull older movies off the shelf, watch them, and let you know if I believe they're worth your time to watch or not. I'm Bobby T, your online video store clerk, and I'll be searching through my VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray collections to find titles that I think may be interesting to review. In today's episode, I'll be reviewing 1979's Breaking Away, directed by Peter Yates and starring Dennis Christopher, Dennis Quaid, Daniel Stern, Jackie Earle Haley, and the hilarious Paul Dooley. Let me read you the DVD cover. Dave and his working class friends, Cyril, Moocher, and Mike, spend their post-high school days in Bloomington, Indiana, sparring with snooty students from the local university, chasing girls, and in Dave's case, dreaming of competitive bicycle racing. The four friends face opposition from all corners as they decide to make Dave's dreams come true in the university's annual bicycle endurance race. This coming-of-age comedy drama won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Now I'm filming this review around the same time as the Indiana University's Little 500 race weekend in Bloomington, Indiana. This film was based on that race, which the trailer is somewhat misleading. Yes, this is the coming-of-age story of four high school graduates who have nothing better to do with their time than hang out at the former rock quarry swimming, drinking beer, and chasing girls. But one of the four has aspirations of becoming a professional bicycle racer for an Italian team and fixates his life as though he's already a native of Italy, much to his exasperated used car salesman father's hilarious chagrin. What I'm really thankful for about this film, though, is instead of focusing on just the boredom the four boys go through, they focus on growing up when the cards are all stacked against the low-income townies in a college town full of rich kids. In 1979, when this film was created, there were still distinct class differences in college kids versus townies. And the cutters, as the townies are called, get into bar fights and put on airs around the pretty college co-eds since they know they don't have anything else to offer that is of value. But the best part of the film is the quasi-Italian character of Dave, played by Dennis Christopher of Chariots of Fire fame. The dynamic between Dave and his father, played by the fabulous Paul Dooley, who's the father in 16 Candles. Dave speaks Italian, shaves his legs for racing, and plays Italian opera at full blast whenever he isn't biking 8 hours a day, dreaming of a professional biking career with the world-class Italian team, or hanging out with his buddies at the rock quarry swimming hole. Dave's dad sells lousy cars and is the epitome of a crooked used car salesperson, but he has a good heart and an adorable, understanding wife. The romance Dave starts with a pretty college girl, played in her first film role by Robin Douglas, is pretty funny too. He fools her into thinking he's an Italian exchange student with accent and all, when everything around him keeps exposing him for the fraud that he is. It's classic storytelling and is some of the best parts of this film. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the remaining three friends, Dennis Quaid, Daniel Stern, and Jackie Earle Haley. While Dave's character has a full arc from beginning to end, it's hard to say the same thing about the other three. In the film, Dennis Quaid is the former star high school quarterback that never got a shot at the next level and is embittered by the rich kids that come and go as he just gets older. His brother is a local cop that lets him and his buddies work off steam by being immature, but knows where the line's drawn. Moocher's dad moved away and left him to sell the rundown family home, while Moocher plans a wedding to the only girl that puts up with his immaturity. And Cyril has even less reason to grow up. His father pretty much expects him to be a low-life bum, and Cyril is more punching bag than actual human, trying to get ahead in life. It's a very real glimpse at a crew of buddies that realize growing older in a dead-end town without any prospects just means growing old and dying while other people's dreams pass them by. It's a startlingly honest take on small-town life, and done really well. I will say the part about the Little 500 bicycle race, although in real life it's an absolute must-see event and the main reason this film is remembered, but in the film it only takes up the last 15 minutes. It's thrilling, and watching our quartet of lovable townie losers as the cutters taking their turn on the bike exchange is both hilarious and humanizing. It's Dave's film, though, and we see all four characters' motivations and integrity as the race wears on. It was a fantastic way to end the film, but I do wish there could have been a little more of the race, to be honest. So, my overall report card, it's going to look like this. Does it stand the test of time? Considering the Little 500 race is still going strong 40 years later after the film was made, becoming the best bike race in the country, this is actually, I would give this more of a B score. The film definitely shows its age as more of a nostalgic look at Bloomington than a film based today. It's dated for sure, but there are still some scenes that could be pulled off today, although there aren't that many. Story. This screenplay won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. However, based on today's standards, it isn't quite that good. I'll give this a B+. This is more a slice of the life glimpse into the American Midwest, just as disco was dying and the world was changing into the me generation. The coming-of-age story of four buddies trying to hold off adulthood at all costs is still poignant. But Dave's relationship with his parents is some of the most compelling dialogue in the film. Knowing Dave's story is based on a real event at the Little 500 where one guy is still a legend to this day just makes it that much better. The cast. Considering so many of these actors went on to long and distinguished careers makes me happy. I'll give this an A grade. Dennis Christopher was absolutely perfect as the Italian wannabe Dave. Quaid, Haley, and Stern were all solid as the rest of the crew. Robin Douglas was lovely as the college dream girl. But honestly, my favorites of the cast had to be Paul Dooley and Barbara Barry as Dave's long-suffering parents. Every time they were on film, I was smiling. Yes, there are inappropriate scenes by today's standards, but otherwise, the cast was stellar and worth watching. The cinematography. I'm going to give this an A- grade for when it was filmed. The filmmakers bent over backwards to show us all the best of Bloomington, Indiana at a time where life was idyllic and more peaceful than it has become today. It reminded me a lot of the original A Christmas Story about Midwest life and how small-town people were more calm than they are today. The rock quarry scenes are iconic. The town and mill were appropriately depressing, and the college Little 500 setting was exactly the riotous affair it still is today. The music. Well, I have to say, this was a bit of a letdown. I'll give it a C+ for effort. I don't think this was meant to sell many records in its day. Having Dave playing Italian opera through most of the film, then having him do a horrendous serenading at the college, and I mean the entire song, out of tune, maybe romantic to the girl, but to the audience, it wasn't all that lovely. But the film survived without a world-class score, so there's that. So based on the above scores, I'm going to give this film a B score. Some people out there may think that that's a little low, but I watched this with my wife, who'd never seen it before, and she was less than impressed, so that weighs into my grade as well. I think as a time capsule film, this would grade higher for those folks. If you've never seen it before, the dating of the film may dampen some viewers' opinions about the quality. I will say this film turned me onto one of the greatest college sporting events I've ever seen in the Little 500 team relay race weekend 2 decades ago. I'll link the most recent race below so you can see it. It's really worth watching and definitely stands the test of time, especially with the crashes. Plus, the Cutters is an actual team in the race that's become iconic for real-life racing. And it's all based on this film. So if you're in the mood for a little bit of American Midwest nostalgia, you'll probably enjoy this film. I hope it brings back lots of memories for you. Now, I will give this a must-rent grade, but if you already love this film, it's worth a buy for those looking for nostalgia. So, here are a few other films similar to Breaking Away. American Flyers with Kevin Costner. This is a better-than-you'd-think bicycle story of two ultra-competitive brothers who don't really get along, who decide to team up to ride the Hell of the West multi-day bike race up the Rocky Mountains, similar to the Tour de France. The bicycle racing is thrilling, even if the story is a little uneven. If you like bike racing, though, this is a must-see. Second, One-on-One with Robbie Benson playing a Pete Maravich-like basketball prodigy that's recruited into UCLA, a UCLA-era powerhouse. But when he falls into the coach's doghouse, he must learn to fight to survive. It's just as dated as Breaking Away, so there is that. But it's actually a fascinating look at college sports and what a meat grinder young athletes are thrown into while still teenagers. And lastly, Hoosiers. The story set in the 1950s where a tiny town's basketball team overcomes long odds to play into the state championship against much larger, more experienced teams. This excellent film is also based on a true story and set in the state of Indiana. What is it about Indiana sports that brings Hollywood running? Like Rudy, too. Well, that's it for Breaking Away. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click the like button below. If you want to keep up to date on my future reviews, please click on the subscribe button below. If you want to purchase Breaking Away on Blu-ray, or if you wish to purchase any of the other titles I've mentioned earlier, please follow the Amazon links below. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like me to review, please leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be sure to help others in need because it's always the right thing to do. Have a great week.